Meanwhile, again, John Schneider meeting with the media. Kind of weird to see him up there solo. So used to seeing him and Pete up there together.
Yeah.
You know, they've been the team up there for so long. But talks about why they're in this position of looking for a new head coach.
Unfortunately or fortunately, however you look at this, we are all here today because we underachieved in 2023. We all did. Now we're in a situation where we all need to get better. We understand that the 12s, the fans, the community, Jody, everybody in this building deserves better. We had high expectations for 2023. You know, we overachieved in 2022, and quite frankly, we underachieved in 2023.
Yeah, he's not
That's what
wrong.
we talked about, right? I mean, we thought in 22 it was kind of a surprise, but you thought, okay, we're going to improve on that.
Yeah, everybody prepared for a bad year. Everybody prepared for no playoffs because we talked about all the national predictions, and the average prediction for the Seahawks was, I think, 4 to 5 wins, I think was the average. And they overachieved. They exceeded it.
Mm-hmm.
And then this year, they didn't. they took a step back.
We talked about it, even individual players. I mean, not just the team, but, you know, not making it to the playoffs, but individual players didn't take a step forward. Some guys went backwards.
Do you think the most egregious is Reek Woolen?
Absolutely.
Such a bummer.
Yeah, it really is. And it's whenever that happens to a rookie where he has the kind of year that Reek did with 6 interceptions, I mean, interceptions in the NFL are hard to get. And for him to get 6, and then, you know, you think, look, I'm not expecting him to get 12, but I was expecting him to continue to play, you know, and maybe it's too much zone for him. They didn't play a lot of man-to-man coverage, and I think that they were kind of played it safe a little bit. And, you know, maybe that's one thing that will really help Reek Woolen going forward. Maybe that's just, it's more about scheme and, you know, the kind of teaching, things like that, you know, he didn't take that step forward. And, you know, look, you got to be coached up every year. I mean, that was the one thing that I thought the biggest difference was that, you know, you got coached up like as good as you possibly can. It's not like college, you know, you see every once in a while, like, remember the thing about DK Metcalf where it was like his stance was all kind of screwed up and he would round, you know, some of his routes off and stuff like that. You get into the NFL, you have to be right on point. You have to have the right stance and all that. And, you know, I felt like Reek Woolen was really raw, but he didn't really get the kind of coaching I feel like that he needed to take that next step.
Yeah, and listen, he's, to me, was the most glaring because he was so good as a rookie. He set the bar so high as a rookie that we're all excited and focused on him. So he was the most glaring, but he was not alone. I mean, obviously you got nothing from Jamal this year. I would argue Quandre took a step back. You got nothing from Darrell Taylor. I don't know who he is for this team or even if he's on the team next year. I mean, there are a lot of guys you could look at on that side of the ball for different reasons. Injuries. Jordan Brooks didn't have the year you expected. He was dealing with injuries. You know, so it's a number of guys out there that you had expectations of that didn't live up to it. On that side, you can go to the other side as well. I mean, you know, I think we all thought the line would be better. Now they got decimated by injuries after the first half of the first game. You lost your 2 starting tackles. I mean, I thought, considering everything they had to deal with, they fared fairly well. Were they great? No. But considering what the rotation that was going on there, they weren't as awful as you might imagine they could be. But, you know, Ken Walker didn't have the year he had last year. Geno didn't have the year he had last year. There are a lot of guys you could point to as a collective and say, well, they didn't improve upon what they produced the previous season.
Yeah. Well, you know, and Darrell Taylor it's kind of funny, and I think maybe this is an expectation thing. He had 5.5 sacks. He was 3rd on the team as far as sacks go. And
but he had, 9.5 the year before?
I don't know. I'm not sure. But, I mean, you know, you said he didn't show up at all. I mean, he did, but it was like very inconsistent. And then, you know, if you look at his tackle totals, he only had 28 on the season. So, yeah, I mean, he wasn't consistent, and, you know, he was somewhat productive, but probably not as much as he could have been.
Yeah, just talking about expectations from one year to the next, building on that year. Okay, they did this year. Well, it only stands to reason they're going to be at least this good, if not better, the following season, you know, barring injury for any player. But yeah, he had 9.5 sacks last season. So he went and he didn't have a ton of tackles last season either. He had 26, but he had 9.5 sacks. He had 4 forced fumbles. I mean, he was decidedly more present, and there was a reason to be excited and anticipate this season for him, much like it was for Reek Woolen and others, and it didn't happen. So yeah, it was a collective, I guess, is the point to this whole thing.